Hello, my name is Emily Johnson and I'm the owner of Upsy Daisy Bakery. Today I'm going to make chocolate brandy truffle cake. Right, so we're going to start by making the cake batter for the cake. This is a really good recipe for Christmas because it's got booze, it's got chocolate, and it's really nice and impressive. We'll get all your family wanting more. Right, so first of all, we're going to add our butter in. And then we've got some nice soft brown sugar. You want to go with the soft brown because it's going to add a really nice caramel fudginess to your cake. Now we're going to cream the butter and the sugar. While that's mixing, we're going to add the egg yolks one by one. I've already separated them from the whites. Right, so to our butter and the sugar, I'm going to add melted dark chocolate. Straight in. Then we're going to go with cocoa. Then I've got flour and baking powder to give it a bit of a rise. And ground almonds. So now I'm going to combine all that. I tend to, once I've added flour to a cake mix, do it by hand because you don't want to overwork it because it will give your cakes a more heavy consistency. Right, so now I've got my egg whites that I separated earlier, and what we're going to do is whisk these up to add to our cake mix. So what you want to get to with the egg whites is a light, stiff, fluffy consistency and about quadrupled in size. Add a third of the egg whites to the cake batter. So mix this all together, and what this is going to do is just get the batter a bit looser so that we can fold in the rest of the egg whites and preserve all those lovely bubbles that you've got into the egg whites. That's going to give this cake a really light, moist feel. So now we're going to put another third of the egg whites into the batter, but this time we're going to be really careful and just gently fold in the two mixtures together in a kind of up and over motion. I'm going to add in the rest of the egg whites and just repeat the same process. So then we're going to put our cake batter into a 9-inch cake tin, and this is going to be baked on a preheated oven at 180 degrees. Smooth that down so that you've got an even batter, and then that goes in the oven for about 40 minutes. So now we're going to make the chocolate brandy truffles to decorate the cake. First of all, we've got some melted dark chocolate here, and I'm going to pour in some nice double cream, stir that all together. To the chocolate and cream mix, I'm going to add 15 grams of butter and then 3 tablespoons of brandy. And now we need to get this thoroughly blended together. So when you get to this stage and it's all smooth, we're just going to pop it back in the fridge. So now we're going to make the chocolate brandy ganache to cover the cake with. So first of all, we're going to start with 350 grams of chocolate, equal measures of dark and milk. I'm going to add to that just a pinch of salt, which always just I add to chocolate recipes because it brings out a good sort of bite and accentuates the flavour. Next thing we need is 5 tablespoons of brandy. Next, I've got some double cream in a saucepan here that I'm going to get to a nice gentle bubble, don't let it boil. So now the cream is nice and bubbling, we're going to take this over and pour it over our chocolate. The reason I've chopped that chocolate is so that the heat of the cream is going to help get that all nice and melted for us. And just continually stir that until you've got rid of all the lumps and bumps of chocolate and everything's lovely and melted together. So when you've got a nice smooth silky consistency, we're going to put that in the fridge, and that's going to help it set a little bit so that it's the right consistency to frost the cake with. Place the cake on a cooling rack. You can tell it's done because it will still look a little wet inside, but it'll be sort of springy to the touch. So now our truffle mix is nice and cool, we can start to roll them. To do this, just take a teaspoon. The mix is going to be quite hard now, but what you're going to use is the heat from your hand just to get them into balls. So get about yay much mix and just squish together and then roll. And then I've got some cocoa over here and just roll them in the cocoa to give them a nice good dusting. So when the ganache has been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, I've taken it out and I'm going to give it a whisk, and that's just going to get it nice and smooth and fluffy. So now the cakes are cooled, I've cut the top off to level out the cakes and then slice them in half. Add a dollop of ganache to your first half of cake and spread that over with a palette knife. Then we need to bring across our other half of cake. Make sure you've got the bottom side facing up so you've got a smooth surface to work with. Place that on top, make sure you're nice and straight with the bottom cake. And now we can add the rest of our ganache. So I've started with the top and now I'm just going to get some of the ganache all the way around the sides. And this makes a lovely Christmas treat for all your family. So for a finishing touch, I'm going to do a nice simple swirl pattern. So I'm just going to use the end of my palette knife to just swirl in as I go around the cake. Now I've got my truffles that I've made earlier, and we're going to place those all around the outside of the cake as a finishing decoration. Best way to do this is like the hours of a clock, so you're going to get them nice and even. And that's how you make chocolate brandy truffle cake.